Here.
John is our chairman of the planning commission.
Yes.
B. Long. Here. Heather Fenton. He's absent. Roy Seeley. Here. Richard Salvatore.
Here.
We have a councilman present, James Seeley.
Here.
And the zoning officer, Larry Frace.
Here.
And Abigail's not with you tonight. And I am the secretary, Carol Hughes.
Borough engineer is here.
Excuse me?
Borough engineer's here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
His name is Mike.
I didn't forget you.
He's from Peters Engineering.
Okay, has the planning committee had an opportunity to look over the minutes and review the minutes from the last one? If so, it looks good, you're happy with it, I'll take a motion to pass the agenda. Second?
I didn't hear.
Second?
Okay, I'll second that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess we need to turn our mics on if you have it. Audience members might have to share.
This meeting here tonight is conduct the December meeting reviews of the final plannings of the development of the homeless thing on 2102 West Front Street in Berwick. So we'll take comments on the plans.
Okay. Me to go?
Just wait, I got a question for you guys.
Sure.
When did you guys know the plans were being changed? Can anybody tell me?
I guess I'm not fully understanding the question.
When did you guys know that you had changed these plans? For we could have had a heads up days ago instead of 5 hours ago.
He's talking about if there was the scope of plan, the change of the plans, the scope of the project. Like putting in the educational,
Building, where's the new blueprints,
And housing.
and the housing, where,
I thought that's why we were coming tonight, was to fill you guys in. We're not asking for any decisions tonight. We're not asking for any actions, we're not asking for approvals. We came tonight to address questions that came out of the last meeting. Since that time, there have been some other announcements and some decisions that we made. That's why we came tonight, not expecting you guys to make any decisions whatsoever, but to fill you in, and then we're gonna, based upon what feedback we get tonight, then we're gonna go back and revise the plans and come to you guys at the next meeting with formal, picking up the process. So we kinda left it that there was some questions that you guys had at the last meeting.
Yeah,
so
we
let's
did.
come and address them.
that's kind of why we had this meeting, because of that. It's a little upsetting, the committee's up, I don't know about that, but in my opinion, I'm a little upset because this made it sound like you guys, this email I got made it sound like you guys were changing everything tonight.
No.
So, it would,
No,
to cause the frustration with people that got the email today, if you would've kind of worded like you just did, that you guys got plans to
I'm not
show
sure
us.
what email was,
Yeah, and send any emails?
I'm not sure what did I send something?
I have,
I sent a lot of emails, but I don't know if
oh,
we'll
the only one I got was, that you wanted to add some classrooms and build some homes behind it. That's what he's talking about. is
Yeah.
This, to change the scope of the project.
As a planning committee, if you're gonna come to me and say that, I wanna see the plans that you're gonna approach.
Before we decide to build a classroom,
That should have been brought up tonight, that you guys wanna do this, not in an email to get
that's,
everybody all frustrated about what's going on.
That's why we came. We came to talk to you about the idea of a classroom and get your feedback on it.
And I understand that, that's what this is about. Okay, that's cleared away, that next time, please be a little more firmer on your emails, not make it look like that you're changing everything up front.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I'm sorry.
John, the reason why I sent that email to you was because you're the chairman, I wanted to keep you in the loop, there was
Exactly.
some stuff going on. That doesn't necessarily mean that they had made any decisions, I just wanted you to be aware, and you brought the meeting to order, and as the night progressed, that's what they were gonna be talking about. And I apologize if you misunderstood that email, because that was not the intention of giving you any kind of frustrations, because like you said, he's not planning to make any, he wants to feel us out to see what we were interested in, how we wanted to do a project on the property.
And I agree with that, but the one that I got, it said, Larry got a phone call that they wanted to change. He just got a phone call that they wanted to change the plans.
I guess, I mean,
We got that,
if you wanna, you can call it change, you can call it, it was in addition to some new information came to us that month or so ago, and we decided not to further submit any more land development submissions for review, but to come to this meeting and have this discussion. In preparation for the meeting, I thought it was in everyone's best interest to have your zoning officer be able to weigh in on what we're asking to see if it's gonna cause an issue from a zoning issue. That was my reason for a call to your zoning officer yesterday, was so that we did come prepared to have an open discussion. So there's no intent to be misleading or secretive or anything like that.
okay, you're honest there. The only reason why this is an issue is because the very first plans that come to us, this was gonna go in the back, not up front with housing in the back. That's the issue some of our council members have.
Yep.
That's why I'm bringing this up, because you made that change without even anybody knowing. The blueprints come in and it's like, oh, this has changed. Just so you guys know, please, I'm asking you, any changes, please let us know within days in advance, not hours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we haven't made any changes yet, so that's why we didn't submit anything. So when, timeline wise, when I was here last time, we just got the engineer's reviews. You know, we didn't make any revisions to that plan. I came and presented the engineering plans and all the details on, you know, how the project was. I told you the whole development team couldn't be here, so we planned on coming to the next planning commission meeting to answer questions of the development itself and operations and all those types of things, which is, you know, what we're here tonight to do. And then after that time, I talked to our client, you know, Rich, and he said, you know, we might wanna look at changing this building footprint a little bit because we have another opportunity here. Let's hold on making revisions to this until we understand, you know, what the implications are. We have to go in to talk to the planning commission anyhow, let's go in and do that first. So that's why we haven't made any changes to any plans or any submissions until, you know, we got together and we're all on the same page about what we're doing here. So that's why we're here tonight. That's, you know, one of the things we wanna talk about, as well as, you know, just how the facility will operate and answer some of the other questions you had at the planning commission last meeting, so.
Well, that's the biggest concern there, but you
Okay.
guys kinda cleared that up, so we're clear with that.
Okay.
All I've asked is, let's be more out there on the way things are being
Okay.
sent.
Okay,
Then we wouldn't have this concern.
so.
You're up now.
Okay, so I think maybe probably what we wanna start with and just talk about, first of all, I guess, is probably what we talked about last time, that, you know, questions that I couldn't answer would be like on the overall, you know, operation of this facility and, you know, how it would function and, you know, the different players involved and things like that. So I guess, Rich, do you wanna maybe start?
Yeah,
with
I
some of
mean,
those things?
at the last meeting, Andy, you know, gave me some feedback, and I believe there was even a newspaper article that identified some of the questions that came up, I believe, if I recall.
Yeah,
And you mentioned that we were here back in the summer, the fall, and we
Yeah.
presented at that time a plan, what we thought was going to be. So if I can address what I think the questions were first, and if I'm
Yep.
missing anything,
That's
by all means, we're here to
what we
answer
need.
questions. So, first thing, is you already brought it up about us changing the plan from the front to the back.
correct.
When we, maybe just a little background. This is a funding source that was announced in, September of 2021.
Right,
We've been monitoring this funding source. It's the first time since I've been doing this work in almost 30 years that there's been an opportunity to find funding that was specifically, dedicated towards building emergency shelters. The trend in the last 20 years has been to divert funding into more of, transitional housing and get away from shelters. We've had a housing task force for since 2010 or before. There's a team of us here that are part of that we've known for the last 15 years that emergency shelters are a key component to dealing with homelessness, regardless of what HUD says and regardless of what the state says. So when this opportunity came about, we were all over it. And we were one of 4 communities across the state of Pennsylvania that was awarded funding for this program. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. It came out of American Rescue Plan funding. There is no more of this funding out there that we know of. It's, hopefully there will be. So we've been talking about this and planning this for a long time. We had what we thought was a good, location in the town of Bloomsburg. And in fact, town of Bloomsburg even made some zoning changes to their ordinance over the past couple of years to permit, us building a shelter, at an area in Bloomsburg. Unfortunately, there were some, issues with the site, that, didn't play out. So the announcements were made in June of 2024, that we now have 3 months to put together an application for funding. Halfway into that 30-day or 3-month window, we learned we had an issue. We weren't gonna be able to build the shelter in the town of Bloomsburg where we had hope. And so our team, some of them are here, scoured the county's ordinance and to find out where in Columbia County is there a zoning district that permits, a homeless shelter by right. Because we knew we didn't have time to go out and try and get variances, and quite honestly, getting a variance would probably be just about impossible anyway. So we're really fortunate and thankful that Briar Creek Borough had a location that would allow this shelter by right. Since that time, it has been a roller coaster ride between getting announcements from the state, between getting, lending, to purchase the property because of the delays the state's caused. Dealing with the seller of the property, was very, very challenging. They were unwilling to give us extensions, that we needed. That would have been in our best interest. So we were faced with a lot of challenges. And when we were here, and there's been many things that have happened since we were here in the fall. The site was marketed and was under contract before we purchased it with a financial institution. I'm not at liberty to say who that was, but there was a contract on the 3.5 acre site with a financial institution. That went on for quite a few months, 6 months or whatever, and ultimately the financial institution backed out. And they backed out because they were unable to get access across the giant parking lot. The owners of the giant parking lot, there's this area right behind McDonald's, which looks, there's not even a curb there, so it looks like it was intended to be access to that site. The financial institution could not get the landlord to give them access to the site. So they backed out. We identified the site as a place that was permissive in your zoning ordinance in the village commercial district to allow for this homeless shelter. So we entered into an agreement with the sellers of the property, which was Wise Markets, on the site. We went to the landlords of the property and also tried to get access from McDonald's. They wouldn't grant it to us either. So we went to PennDOT and we submitted a highway occupancy permit. So one of the conditions of the purchase of that property was that we could access it from Route 11. We were confident we could get after some early conversations, PennDOT said, yeah, there's no reason why we wouldn't give it to you. We've looked at it and there's no big issues there. With that information, we went back to the financial institution who originally had the contract and said, hey, we've resolved the access issue. That's when we came and talked to you guys about, we believe that with this highway occupancy permit coming off of Route 11, that we're gonna be able to entice a commercial, business
This was that bank.
to take that bank, or if it wasn't the bank, maybe we can find something else that would be interested. And I recall me saying that the best use of that site, the front of that site, is a commercial application.
Yeah.
And I said that at the meeting. That financial institution, after looking at it, came back and said, no, we're not interested. If we can't get access behind the site, we don't like the way the access is off of Route 11. We're not interested in the property anymore. It was at that time, about that time, either just before or just after that, whatever, we learned that there's another funding program that's coming out of that same pot of money, that same $70-some million that Pennsylvania got. There's a new pot of money that's gonna be allocated towards rental housing. We learned some more details about that, and it was rental housing that was going to be for qualifying populations, which qualifying populations under this particular program mean people that have a connection to homelessness. Either have been homeless, will be, or coming out of an emergency shelter. And we said, wait a minute, we don't need to sell this property, we can use the whole thing ourselves. Here's another funding opportunity, and the zoning ordinance is permissive to allow us to build apartment units or duplexes in the rear of the property. Let's move the shelter to the front of the site and reserve the back of it for this new program that we haven't even applied for the money yet. So that's how the switch came, that we moved the commercial, the other financial institution was no longer interested. We said, okay, we can use the whole site. We've been looking for years for properties that were permissive for the type of housing we want to build, that had water and that had sewer, and had infrastructure that we needed. So wait, we've been looking for this so long, we already have a contract on the site, why, we don't need to sell it, let's use it all for ourselves. So that's kind of where that came about. Since that time, even after we decided to move the homeless shelter to the front, I even called Andy, even after, I believe it was after you even started working on the design, and said, wait a minute, we have another financial institution who's interested. Let's just revisit this one more time to make sure that it's not in our best interest to sell it and find another place to build the housing. We worked with them for about a month, and they came back and said, no, we're not interested either. if we could get access behind McDonald's, we would be interested. But, so, we had two financial institutions who looked at, two separate ones, looked at it and both declined to wanna work with us. So, we're at a point saying, okay, we're fine with that, we're going to build the homeless shelter in the front, and now we have room in the rear for what we think, and we're still working on plans, for about 8 duplexes, which would equate to 16 housing units, where, based upon the housing, the densities, the setbacks, your lot sizes, duplexes would allow us to build more units than even townhomes would. So we're looking at 16 units. It'd be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units that would be rental units that we would manage. And these would be units that would be rented to folks that have a homeless, connection. So people that would come out of the homeless shelter, and need a more permanent setting would benefit from these housing units. So that's our new direction. There's funding available, and again, a new funding source that's brand new, that fills a gap that doesn't otherwise exist. There's no other funding program, I shouldn't say none, but very, very little opportunity to build a 16-unit project. You're either gonna build a 9-unit or less, or 24 units or more. So here's this new funding source that we say, wow, we already have land, we have water, we have sewer, it's permissive zoning, we're gonna build a homeless shelter. Those folks could really use, and from our experience, and there's folks here that can speak to the fact that folks, coming out of homeless shelter oftentimes really benefit from that next step, where they can still receive case management, counseling, financial literacy programming, all those kinds of things. So here's a natural connection. That was our next move. Now that's on the table. We pulled the team together and said, okay, are we missing anything here? The one thing that I think maybe we're missing, and I approached the rest of our team because we're housing folks. Myself, CSG, Josh Nestle, our deputy director is here. We build housing, affordable housing, we manage housing. We're not the ones who work with the folks that deliver the case management, that help them get on the right path, get on their feet. Those are the folks that are here that we're gonna partner with. We pulled those folks together and said, hey, we have the opportunity to build this homeless shelter, and we have the opportunity to build up to 16 housing units for folks that could probably use some programming and some case management. Is there anything else we should be looking at in the homeless shelter itself? Do we need a classroom? Do we need a place where those folks, and even folks from outside the community, might be able to benefit from the programming that the rest of our team is here to provide, which they do a phenomenal job across counties? And the answer was yes, absolutely. Those folks could really benefit from us adding a classroom, a babysitting room for the folk that the parents are out of class. There's a little babysitting room there, and an office where their staff could be. So that's where the addition of the classroom came from. It kind of all evolved. I wish we had a crystal ball and could have seen all these things line up, but we didn't. It's evolved out of this. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, we've already had Andy and his team do a lot of preliminary calculations, sizing the stormwater basin, based upon the building footprint that we told him that didn't include a classroom, based upon parking that wouldn't have accommodated people coming in from the community to take a class. So we thought, okay, Andy, before we go any further, and you designing this project anymore, let's go have a conversation and address the questions that are already been presented and talk this through. I believe that everything we're proposing is a permitted use in the district. If there's no zoning issues, that's why I contacted your zoning officer. Cause I know that's certainly gonna, if I'm on the planning commission, that's one of the questions I'm gonna wanna ask is, how is it consistent with your zoning ordinance? So that was the reason for my call to Larry. So there's been nothing done to intentionally to mislead anybody. It's how the chain of events happened and why we're at where we are. When we talk about redesigning the building, now we've already spent a lot of time and effort in sizing. One of the biggest things that comes into land development approvals and submissions is designing the streets and stormwater. Is that correct, Andy?
Yeah.
So Andy's already done all of that. So now it's like, okay, if we expand the building and put in a classroom and add more parking stalls, now we gotta go back and start all over from the very beginning. What are our options? Our options might be, instead of going out, let's go up. So that's our direction right now, is that in order to increase the square footage of the building and the amenities that we have, and not increase the impervious area, which would require a whole new redesign of the stormwater system, is let's look at redesigning the building. And so the building footprint will actually be smaller, and now we even have room for those extra parking stalls that I've estimated, and this will ultimately be your zoning officer's determination, how many stalls we need. You know, I think that we're probably looking at maybe another 6 or 7 parking stalls based upon the size of our classrooms. And that's something that I know Larry can't even have the answer to yet, because he doesn't know the size of anything. But so we believe that the changes that we're making are not impacting the impervious, the stormwater. We believe that the changes we're making are permissible under the ordinance, under what's permitted use. But before we turned Andy loose to go redesigning everything, it was, let's go have a conversation, let you guys know we're doing it, why we're doing it. And so that's the switch. That's what we intend to do with the remaining part of the property. I can tell you that I don't know if that's what we're gonna do with the remaining part of the property, just like when we came in to talk about the homeless shelter, I didn't know that we were gonna be able to do that, because I didn't know if we were gonna be funded or not. There's $30 million that's available across the state of Pennsylvania for these housing units. And I believe it's gonna be a lot more competitive. For us to build the 16 units, we're gonna need about $8 million.
Did you guys get the funding yet?
In addition to what we already have to do 16 units. With all the prevailing rates that come with these projects, and we don't know how competitive we're gonna be. If we don't, if we're not successful in getting the funding, we're not giving up. There's still a tremendous affordable housing need, and we're gonna find some other way to utilize that remaining land to build housing of some type for folks that need it, that can't afford it otherwise, which could be anything from elderly, first-time home buyers. You know, we have a whole array of housing across the county, that from anything from seniors to folks with disabilities, to first-time moms, to so we know that we're gonna be able to utilize the rest of this property, and that we're not gonna have to worry about marketing it to a commercial developer. So, sorry for the wordy explanation, but that's kind of where we are.
Now, I have a question for you before we go. Did anybody talk to the owner of Giant Property? I can almost guarantee the reason why he's saying no is because he's the one that's gotta pay fully for that red light there. If you guys would've found that out, that if you would make an agreement with him that, oh, we'll take on some of the cost of the red light, I can almost guarantee you, he would've let you have that access.
I wish we would've had you in the negotiations, because that's not at all.
Because if
what-
I own that, I'm not gonna let you come through there if I gotta maintain that red light.
There was never any discussion whatsoever about sharing in expenses. Absolutely, we would have considered it.
And the other concern, I know PennDOT give you guys the roadway access.
Mhm.
This is just my opinion, I don't know if the committee's gonna agree with me or not. I have a problem with having too many access right before the red light coming out. We got Walliver Road, which that's a road. We have, the restaurant just went in there now, they have one, they're using Walliver Road to come out too. And now we have the old plaza over here, the old Ames Plaza, we don't know what's going in there. It could be some big business going in there that's gonna have a lot of traffic coming out. And now you guys are gonna go here, and you're gonna put rental property back there with extra traffic coming out here all times of the day? I mean, this area up here is gonna start being unsafe to travel.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
We get a lot of traffic on the road.
Did PennDOT do a road study on the traffic there, the amount that's coming out in different directions?
We submitted, Andy, I don't know if you can speak to highway.
Yeah, I
occupancy
mean,
for that.
we had to submit plans and calcs for our proposed site, and when we submitted it with a financial institution at the front of the site, so that would include more traffic than this development's gonna generate, and it was approved by PennDOT in this location.
Right, but our problem there is if the old Ames Plaza gets up and running again, the time-wise varies on what the traffic's gonna be there.
Well, I would assume they're gonna have to go through PennDOT too, right?
No, because that access has always been there, they don't have to get it right away. For the old plaza there,
Yeah, they have 2 lanes in and 2 lanes out.
Yeah.
that's always been there, so PennDOT cannot take that away from them.
Well, if the use changes, you know, they can enforce it that way. Typically, if the use changes, they have to reevaluate their permit.
Is that true, Larry? If the use changes, can PennDOT stop?
I don't know, I don't.
Well, they might not be able, they can't take your access away, but if the use changes, you know, if it goes from like a low volume to a medium or high volume driveway, you have to get a new permit from PennDOT.
We've had to do that already,
Did you?
yes.
And the traffic.
But you're an engineer, do you understand what I'm saying about the
Yeah,
traffic
that's
right
what I'm
there?
And like I said, they went through the hoops with PennDOT, they granted it. But like you said, you're worried about Bill Lane's building. If they change the use from an office to a shopping mall,
Right.
it's gonna produce a lot more. They're gonna have to get a new HOP permit for it.
Okay,
You know, a residential, I'm sorry.
That's good, and that'll come down to PennDOT, and they might come back and say, well, you're gonna make them put a red light there. Who knows? You don't know. It's up to PennDOT at that point. The way they look at it in their study, they prove that it's safe, yeah. Everybody has their opinion whether it's safe or not, but that's PennDOT's.
so PennDOT did, you guys have the paper that PennDOT did do a road study, a traffic study?
I don't know.
We had to provide them with estimated traffic volumes from our project. And that was part of the highway occupancy permit that was submitted to them, so they had to review all that and approve it. And again, this driveway was approved with the financial institution included, so, you know, the residential uses we're talking about will generate less traffic, so it was approved at each.
I mean, that would help with less traffic.
Right.
Any traffic in there is gonna be a nightmare, because there's just too many access coming out before the red light that people are gonna try to beat out there when there's cars parked there waiting for the red light to change. They're gonna try to squeeze out there in the center lane to go left. I'm just concerned, I don't know about the committee. And I don't know if anybody in the audience agrees with me on that one or not. Apparently not, nobody say anything.
Traffic is terrible, I know that.
But that's another story, we'll move on.
All the people going up to Amazon, in and out. Oh, God.
Okay, we'll go to the engineer. Any comments about what you're hearing?
I have no problems other than once we get the plan, new set of plans and review.
All right, any comments from Larry?
No.
None? And you haven't got anything new on them, or no permits for doing stuff there?
Well, they can't get permits until they get through us planning, and then they have to go to council to be approved.
Right, they got,
And then, but they still have a ways to go here.
all right. Borough, Jim?
Question for you, you're gonna put eight units duplexes, not against that. What plans do you have for a pavilion or recreation area? I think our zoning has something in there, after so many homes, they have to have a playground area or a.
Yeah, I would have to look that up.
We have to look that up, there is a provision where you'd have to put a pavilion up, that you're gonna have a lot of people there, and you need someplace for them to sit or walk or whatever.
We have not, other than doing a cursory review of the ordinance and the lot size requirements and setbacks, and a ballpark calculation of how much we would need additional for another stormwater basin, we think that 16 is the most we can do. We're not convinced that we can do 16 yet. The guidelines for this new funding program, that again, we've been waiting for since September of 2021, were just released last week. I have a webinar tomorrow to learn more about the program, and Andy doesn't know it yet, but he's got a meeting next week with us and our architect to look at what are the guidelines, what are the requirements of the funding program, and then what are the requirements of the municipality? What does the borough require if we do that? And that is how much stormwater. We believe we know what size the street needs to be and the sidewalks, and we just plotted that just to get a ballpark to know whether or not we're gonna be able to fit 4 duplexes or 8 duplexes. So we know that 16 is the most at this point. Well, I won't say we know. That's our preliminary plan. So our next step is to, again, review the guidelines of the program, have Andy compare that with your requirements, and then start the, we won't be coming in for the land development approval for that project until we get funding approval. But we need to know enough about it to know what can we do. So yeah, we will be, Andy will be scouring your ordinance for pavilions, for how much
I'm
sidewalks,
not
the
sure if it's
driveways.
required or not, but I.
Right, yeah, but
It's
yeah,
in
to
our
your
salvo.
point, yes,
It's in our salvo.
That's on page 80.
Yeah, I read it before, where you have to allow so much for a pavilion
yeah.
for housing.
But that'll be, you know, Andy, I don't know if you can speak to that, but how much time you invest into the site work planning before we do an application, because when we submit our grant application, we don't necessarily need a ton of detail on the plans, but we need a very detailed construction budget. So Andy has to tell us that, hey, Rich, Briar Creek Borough requires a pavilion, you need to make sure that you account for it. So Andy, that's what his team does to prepare us for that application.
Yeah, and like I told you at the last meeting, when you asked me about the back, I mean, all we've really done so far is just put some boxes on a plan to see how many would fit, so we haven't really done any of that research yet, on the specifics, so.
So this building here, you're gonna change that?
We're gonna make the footprint smaller, yes.
Oh, right here, because I know we talked about, that's where the people were probably gonna stay till they found, a home.
Yep.
Or something.
Yeah, that doesn't change.
And now what, we're gonna go back here?
No, it's gonna stay in the same spot.
Well, what, is this building still gonna be here?
Yep, still right there. It might just change in its size a little bit. And we might add, and we'll add some more parking stalls.
Okay, so that takes up more space.
Yep.
And then you're gonna put another water, where's that water thing?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
stormwater?
stormwater basin there,
Yeah, and you're
yes.
gonna have to put another one?
We'll have to put, if we do develop the back, we'll have to have another one in the back, yes.
Okay. And, remember we talked about, I told you about the stormwater having a fence around it.
Correct,
So
yes.
the kids or anybody else, don't wanna go in there. But another thing, when I see the traffic coming up, when you talked about, you know, traffic, if you're coming up this way, there's no lane to come to make a left-hand turn. There's a center lane, but a lot of people use that center lane to go to, you know, Taco Bell and the gas station there. So if you ever like, in a center lane and a guy coming the other way, it's not fun.
So this application, you're not doing anything on the back.
No.
If you could
You're
get the
still
back,
staying in front.
you know, another entrance, that would be for your benefit and make it safer for everybody else.
The only thing that we anticipate, and as of right now, that would change is the blue building might change and the parking lot might change, not significantly.
I'm just going,
And the stormwater, we're hoping that the stormwater doesn't change. We don't have to go through all those calculations again. But there's a potential that that might, and if it does, it's not gonna be significant. The general concept isn't really changing. It's still in the front, it's still at the same location against the McDonald's side of the property. The highway occupancy permit dictates where the road comes in. The width of the road that Andy's showing, that doesn't change. The temporary, cul-de-sac doesn't change.
you have a question over
Yeah,
there?
I have one more question.
Mhm.
From our meeting in, August the 1st, the question was asked, do you plan to clear out the wooded area? Yes, Mr. Nestle noted that one of the reasons the parcel was of interest is that there are known homeless encampments in the area, and the shelter would address this. Have you addressed it? Are you gonna clean the woods out back there, or?
It will be eventually, and whether or not we need to do it as part of this project will, if that's what the township wants, or the borough wants, then we'll clear it out.
That was something we specifically talked about at the last planning commission meeting, and that is something we'll note on the plan and show that on the plan.
We are, if you don't plan on cleaning the woods out now, we're gonna ask you to get rid of the shrub brush in there and clear cut at least 6 feet up.
Yeah, well, thanks for clarifying, we're not counting on clear cutting. Now, just because of the added expense and not knowing exactly what trees we might wanna save later, but to your point of the underbrush, being able to see through it, we can accommodate that, yes.
Because probably where them homes are gonna go is gonna be in that area.
Oh, absolutely, if we proceed with the rest of the homes, I would envision that every tree will go. There may be a couple here and there, but I doubt it, because there's really not very many mature trees in there that we really wanna save.
In
They're
the
all
middle,
pretty
you have
much scrub and
evergreens.
crooked trees. So it's just that, clearing that, initially, we will not have the funding to go in and grub the whole rear of the site, because it's not part of this, will be, as part of this land development approval, we're really concentrating on that front. I can say, and not, this is just another note, and, you know, and to Josh's comments at the earlier meeting, since then, I've been back in that woods many times. Has been, Mark, who is here with, Central Susquehanna Opportunities, he's our homeless liaison, and we can vouch that there really is no one really staying in there and hasn't been for some time.
Just when you clean, just all the brush and debris and everything and bags of trash blow over there.
Yep.
Yep, so.
Oh, there's no
You
shortage
promised
of,
you'd address
trash
it.
in there.
Okay, you said you'd address
There's no
this
question.
issue, so if you do.
And I will be in there helping, I'm hoping that I get to come in and clear out that brush myself personally, so I can get out of the office for a little while.
Make sure it's a nice day, not a cold day.
Yeah.
Larry, if they go out, is it in our ordinance right along the road that a 2-story is allowed?
That would be allowed. They're not gonna see the height limits there at all.
No.
I just wanted to ask that, because I know some places there is a height limit.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that what, get that up front, because if there was and they found out later, well, now they gotta redo everything all over again. I just wanted to put that up front. All right,
Correct me
any-
if I'm wrong, Larry, but before we can get land development approval, we need a zoning approval, correct? Zoning determination that what we're proposing meets setbacks and building heights and all
Yeah,
that kind
that
of
come
stuff.
from the, site plan that you submit.
Right. So we'll know before your final approval that we don't need any, zoning. We've met all the zoning conditions of the zoning ordinance, in addition to your land development.
right,
But before you get the zoning permit, then you'll have to have your ENS, which you almost have done, or
Right.
your land development done.
Correct, right, but as part of this process, before we would even submit for a building permit,
That all has to,
that all has to be approved.
for the setbacks and the
And I know,
depths.
speaking of building permit, and then one of the other questions that I have on my notes here from your last meeting was a timeline. You know, how long is all this gonna take? We didn't expect to have the delay from the last meeting to this meeting, so we're short a month already. I'm hoping that's all. Our goal is to have this out to bid for a spring construction start. So our goal was to have it out to bid for, like a March start. Realistically, we're probably looking at till we get through this process and then get building permits. We're probably looking at least, we're probably looking at May would be our target at this point. April at best. I don't know how realistic that is, but definitely, the first part of this year. I can't fathom that it would be anything later than June at the very latest, but hopefully April, May.
so normally these companies such as them, they don't do land development until they're sure that they have zoning approval, just because it's so expensive.
Right.
ADA, are you gonna, being it's a two-story, are you gonna install an elevator?
No, with the ADA, you need to make sure that you don't have anything, we're under the square footage requirements that would require an elevator. I forget the exact amount, it's like 2,500 or 3,000 square feet or more, you would need an elevator. As long as you don't have any amenities on the second floor that don't exist on the first floor, you're okay. And the reason being is, if you think about it, if you only have one three-bedroom family area, and it's on the second floor, and somebody comes in that needs a three-bedroom unit, you can't accommodate them. So as long as you have a three-bedroom on the first floor and a three-bedroom on the second floor, then you're okay. So you just have to be careful with your design.
I didn't know what you were gonna put up there, whether you were gonna put conference rooms or housing.
No, it'll be, well, in that we're still tweaking that plan, but primarily it'll be a mix of guest rooms on the first floor and the second floor, with all of the common spaces on the first floor.
Yeah, so 3,000 square feet, you don't need an
Is it
elevator.
3,000? Should've just asked Larry, he knows.
You're still gonna keep the same amount of beds?
Yes.
Who's
Have any
your,
more?
go ahead,
No,
who's your builder gonna be?
We don't know that yet.
Oh.
We have to bid it out. A lot of the projects we do, we don't have to bid out, just because of the nature of the way the programs are designed, and actually you really can't bid it out. This particular funding source requires that we do.
Thank you.
any more questions from the committee? Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, on that 16 unit housing development behind the homeless shelter, is that gonna be only for the homeless shelter people?
Not exclusively, but that's the target. That's,
Or what else will it be for? Low income housing?
yeah,
low-income housing too?
All of those units, because of the funding that we'll be applying for, all of those units have to be for, households that are at 80% of the area median income or less. And the definition of low-income housing in housing world, and our funding world, is 80% or less. So, it is possible to do mixed income, where some of the units would not be low income, but that becomes very, challenging to do from a funding perspective, because you can't,
Who establishes the guidelines for that, the county or?
HUD.
HUD.
Yeah, all of this funding is coming out of HUD through it's called the HOME program, that's the Home Investment Partnership Program, which has been run by HUD for decades. So all of the funding limits and all the other guidelines come directly from HUD. The state of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development can add more stringent regulations, but they can't make it any easier.
On my phone's on
That's Jim, that's Jim.
Do you have your name or a card or something? What your title
Any
is
other
with this?
comment from the,
there.
go ahead, sir.
Do we know how many homeless people are in the area looking for housing?
So, we have a team here in the back.
Yeah, great question.
Mark, can you tell them who you are and how you know?
Yeah, my name is Mark Ruzanowski. I'm homelessness liaison for the county. It's a new role in the county, but I have the privilege of working with a lot of these folks. With our homeless people, that number changes, you know.
I get that,
It's a
but-
fluid number, but as of right now, I think we have mid-30s families in the area that are currently homeless.
I just wondered, cause I've been up to Eagle Hose,
Yeah.
my daughter's up there helping
Yep.
for homeless, and there's really not that many people in there, that's what I was wondering, if you only got
Oh,
5
there it
families.
is.
I don't know.
No, unfortunately. I would, if I could have 2 or 3 minutes just to speak on the behalf of a family that I know Frank was working with this past week, a family of 6. I went to the St. Columba Warming Center today in Bloomsburg, met with this family, and this is their day. This was their journey today. So it's a family of 6. They started off at the Co Blue Shelter in Bloomsburg, or in Berwick. Husband went to work, older boy went to work. This family had to go to Bloomsburg to a warming center for the day. So when that warming center closes, that family then goes to the Berwick Library, meets with the husband and the boyfriend who get off of work, and then go back to the Co Blue in Berwick. So this is the day of a homeless family, and we're asking them to get back on track, because they're starting from scratch, they've lost everything. So trying to ask a family to get back on track when they're moving around and just trying to stay in survival mode, it's impossible. And so that's why a project like this is just so important. I mean, it's been great to watch the community come together for this family. I mean, I've seen at least 6 different organizations, you know, give this family warmth over the past 2, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about too.
A project like this though, this gives folks a place to go, case managers to go, it's a central place, and it's, yeah, so that's my spiel. But, it's very important, you know, and these are our neighbors that we're talking about, you know, these aren't, as I've heard it put this week, stray cats. These are our neighbors, so.
Yeah, my name's Rich Kistner, K-I-S-N-E-R. And I am the Executive Director with Community Strategies Group.
Go ahead, sir, in the back.
Bruce Michael, and I need to echo our fellow councilman's comments about part of the first project that you do is that the green space in the back be cleared out and maintained just like you would a lawn. Not probably lawn quality, but and high enough so that you can see through it. Maybe even then, until you get the other building, people wanna do a little picnic in there from the community, that's fine. The other thing is, when you build these, the new building complexes, which is admirable, are they a taxable thing? Or are they a non-taxable, because they're attached to your facility, which is a non-revenue stream?
The housing units?
Yes, the housing.
Or the homeless shelter?
The homeless shelter is a non-revenue stream, correct?
Correct.
Okay, the housing units, are they a revenue stream or not?
They will, the intent is to work with the housing authority and have, tenant-based vouchers that will offset operating expenses. So, yes, there is income coming in, but it's not like they're going to generate a lot of operating income. Historically, we have paid taxes on all of our rental properties. I don't wanna make that promise today. That's our intent. We try to do that. We've always worked under the premise that, if we are leasing a unit to anyone, that we're subject to pay real estate taxes. We've been led to believe that that's not necessarily the case. So if it comes down to whether or not we, need to seek tax relief to make a project work, I can't say we wouldn't do that.
Sure.
It's not our intention.
Yeah, those provisions are available to you.
Right.
Some constituents have asked
Correct.
whether or not, we understand the shelter, but
Right.
now if you build, at one time, something like a townhouse, which it wasn't, that would have been a taxable income and would help the borough sustain its operating.
That's we work our taxes into all of our operating budgets with the hope that there's enough rental income there to be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Josh, anything to add to that?
We like to pay taxes.
We don't like to pay that.
Who likes to pay taxes?
Then we get to make the argument that our projects are bringing vacant properties back to the tax roll and there's a broader benefit. So, last year we paid well over $350,000 in local taxes. But to Rich's point, the project is the most important thing, so before we make that promise, it's will it cash flow enough to carry itself to make the project possible?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand certainly the value, and even when we stated that back in August of '24, is that it's a very important project. At that time, though, we weren't talking about additional housing.
Yeah.
But people have asked that question, and that's okay, it's a good question to ask.
Yep, for sure.
And, the only answer is.
We're very mindful of it.
Yeah.
We wanna think that we're part of the community. Not everyone always agrees with who we serve. We get that. We always wanna look at the other side of things, what we're working in your municipality and we want the municipality to be healthy. And so that's gonna be our goal, is to try and pay taxes, but I don't wanna promise you.
Well, hopefully some of these people will take jobs in our municipality.
That's
which
our
is
goal.
good, which would be great.
And like I say, there's a team here that's our mission, and working together to do that. And we have 5 agencies represented here, and that's not everyone.
To Mark's earlier story, some of them already have jobs, and so these projects will keep them in a place where they can keep those jobs.
Sure.
So,
I mean, I think that's important, get them back on their feet.
Working residents who live in that building will pay their income taxes for all four. That's one thing that's kind of, overlooked here. Regardless if they work at Dollar Tree or restaurant, they live here in Borough, you're getting 0.5% of their earnings.
Thank you. Any other questions from the audience? ones over on the right, have any input on anything? Any comments, what we talked about? Nobody? Oh, that's easy. All right,
I just was curious when that grant, the grant you're speaking of to get the housing, when that submission date is, what's the,
I believe it's April first is the submission date.
and when they'll award it?
Boy, I wish I knew that. The homeless shelter grant, we were told they were going to announce that in December of last year. I'm sorry, December of '24. And they announced it in, Mike, get my dates right, too many projects.
December 24 was what we were told the announcement would come, and then the actual announcement was about a year after that.
I was just curious, cause it seems to me you're like working on two separate projects and.
It is.
When you would, if you're just trying to get approval for the first part of it, which would be the homeless center.
Correct.
Just filling us in on what possibly could happen in the back.
You can do that.
So this is,
John, let me make a note of that, we will send, I think I have your email address. We can keep you apprised of, and actually there will be a public hearing, that's part of the application process. I believe that's where some of the other questions and some of your notes came from, was that public hearing that we had for the homeless shelter. So that will be a requirement that will be advertised, and you guys will be made aware of that there'll be another public hearing for this new funding. And so that will be, more than likely in, probably in early March, I would think. Does that sound about right, Josh, timeline wise?
I haven't learned the timeline yet for this particular, but it's usually 2 months or so before the application deadline.
and if you'd like to have anything, this Borough building, it would be available.
Okay.
I mean, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do have, prime time that comes in here, but if in the evenings, it's,
We typically hold the hearings in our office out of convenience, but if you think if you'd wanna have it here, so it's convenient for you and your residents, we'd be
yeah, that would
happy
be
to
up
do
to
that, right,
council,
Josh?
but
Yeah,
I just
are
wanna
you
let
able to
you know.
offer a hybrid option here?
Excuse me?
Are you able to offer an online option here? If not, we can bring some equipment to set that up, but we do like to offer, for anyone who wants to call in, access to do so.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, I know we just have
We'll-
access and-
We'll connect and we'll figure that out, and we'll
Great,
we'll
I
do
just
it
wanna
again.
let you know that if you put something in the borough where the project is, you might get more questions, more answers, more happiness.
any other questions? Do you have any input that you?
What was, maybe this gentleman back, the response to this kind of, program? Like, you know, like, I remember originally the 1 million, like, you stayed there 3 months until you found a place. What has been the response in your experience or the experience of the homeless people that did it work or did
You
it,
mean, how do the other homeless shelters function and how?
yeah, and how did, I mean, you guys have other places,
Well,
right?
we don't, but we have someone who does, so
Yeah.
Kunal, can you tell me who you are and
Sure, absolutely.
why do you know this?
My name is Colonel Tapor. I'm
I don't know
with
if I'm gonna be here.
Can you, why don't you come up?
Come on down here. Thank you, sir.
I don't wanna be the only one up front.
my name is Colonel Tapor, and I'm an operations director with the Gatehouse in Danville. It's
Can you hear him okay?
No.
A little louder.
a little louder.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Is that good?
Get a microphone.
Yeah.
Is that a mic?
Yep, that's the mic.
Colonel Tapor with the Gatehouse in Danville. Gatehouse is a shelter that's located on the state hospital grounds in Danville. I'm the operations director there, so that's an excellent question. The success rate. What's unique about this project is that this will be a multi-agency collaboration. Several of those agencies are represented here today, as Rich mentioned earlier. Now all these agencies will bring their expertise to this project, okay? Whether that be case management services or educational opportunities, which include financial literacy, which include looking for jobs.
You need a job to rent a house.
Absolutely, budgeting, okay? Nutrition and cooking. We offer all of these things currently at the shelter that I run in Danville. As far as the success of programs go, last year at the Gatehouse, I'll speak for the Gatehouse, we transitioned over 125 people, individuals. 125.
Oh,
Now, to answer the question earlier, or to further answer the question earlier about, is this something like this even needed? It is, and rural homelessness is a lot different than urban homelessness in that it's not always very visible. You have a lot of folks who are couch surfing, and you have a lot of folks who live out of their vehicles, abandoned buildings. And so it's not always, it's not always the man with the shopping cart, right?
Oh, correct, a lot of them,
Right.
they don't wanna do that.
Sure. And so, in fact, tomorrow we're doing something called a point-in-time count, pit count. And it happens throughout the United States. And basically, you go out during the early hours of the morning and of the day, and you're looking for people who are homeless. And it's very silly in that you're doing this in the middle of January and you're looking for people outside, right? It would make more sense to do something like this, say in the spring or summertime, but this is when we are required to do it. And tomorrow, what we normally do, and a lot of the folks here who are here today will be volunteering and helping with that effort, going to places that we usually are or know that
Where the people
we may
are.
find someone.
Correct.
That includes laundromats even, McDonald's, libraries under the bridge, hospitals. It's not just, we're not just out there in the field, but we'll have someone in the offices making phone calls to hospitals, to police departments, asking, have you encountered anyone over the last, few days or night, or normally it's overnight?
It's where you slept tonight
Tonight.
to tomorrow morning, so
Okay, to
we're
tomorrow
counting
morning.
where you slept this evening.
Did you come across anyone who was ill housed or homeless, right? So that'll happen here in the next few hours. So, we do, our success is in not seeing repeat customers, so to speak, right? We want to make sure that we are providing the tools necessary to ensure that this person does not see homelessness again. Our goal is to end homelessness. And so we provide these tools, as I mentioned earlier, to help better their lives. Even I failed to mention parenting classes. We have folks who have children and they have these generational mindset as to how to treat their child or how to take care of their child, and that might not be the best for the child. And so we have folks who come in or we have resources in the community that we can send them to for that sort of education. So I hope that
That sounds like,
clarifies.
yeah. 'Cause that's when we started the program here, my first plans, that's what we were thinking about, about how it's gonna help the homeless. Then and today we come and seeing like the plans to handle it, it's changed, you know?
I mean,
You
I
know,
think
the
Rick-
temporary, and now we're building bigger house, you know.
well, I think Rich,
For the family, you know, and that, and,
I think Rich
you know.
did a great job in clarifying that, tonight, and.
Yeah, that was all news to me today.
Now, honestly, you know, we want the best for the community. It's not just our project, it's also the community. I live in North Center Township, it's a Borough address, I'm a township supervisor. I want the best for my community. You know, I want the best for, not just my township, but Briar Creek Borough as well, Borough, Briar Creek Township, all of the surrounding communities. It's in the best interest for everyone, you know, to see our communities prosper and, you know, for us to do the best we can to make.
Oh, I know you mean well, and that's the, you know, that's the idea of it, you know?
Any other questions, we'll always be here to answer them. Yes,
I just have
ma'am?
a comment.
Okay.
Last year, we had a group come in here, was it, Jim can help me, Agape? They came in and they had a class.
CSO and Agape are here.
Yeah, they had a
CSO.
class here with young ladies, and they even had like a babysitter and stuff like that, and it was overwhelming how these people were so interested in learning. And it was not just learning, but it was also to help them have a better self-esteem about trying to get out there and get a job and provide for their family.
Could I
It was a
just,
success.
If you mentioned CSO and Agape, we have the executive directors of both agencies here today. Megan, you stand up and,
Talk about getting ahead?
that was at that program?
Yeah.
So, and then we have Carla Alexander, director of Agape. So, when I said we're coming as a team, I mean, we brought the A team along.
Just real quickly, I know we're running late on time, but the program you're talking about is the Getting Ahead program.
That's
It's
right.
one of the programs we had targeted for this project. And if you're familiar, CSO also manages the mobile food pantries that comes to Bourbon Park to distribute food. And that's our model is, not just meeting the immediate need, but helping families work towards self-sufficiency. And so that's what we do with the mobile food pantry by connecting with individuals, making referrals to other services. That's the model that Rich is proposing with this housing project, which is a holistic approach. We're not about putting Band-Aids on problems, we're about helping people work towards self-sufficiency. So that program is really, just highlights the type of services that would be available. They're already occurring in the community, we're doing them here in Berwick, and throughout Columbia County. But having a home base, providing services at a homeless shelter would just really be a unique approach and a unique delivery model. So we're proud to be part of this project. And if you have any questions, my name is Megan Bear with CSO. I'm happy to answer them.
We'll guarantee you that, I volunteered for 4 different food drives. You probably see me there, but, there's at least, at every food drive, there's vehicles that come through that people are homeless. They're living out of their vehicles. So if that could get them into housing, plus, like she said, CSO every 3rd Wednesday has a free food giveaway, and Briar donates the parking lot to the Bourbon Park.
And Carla,
Just real quick, I know you mentioned 125 success stories, but in sales, as y'all know, do we have a failure rate? What percentage is that 125? Are we talking 25%, 50%, 75%? Because with every success, there are a couple failures. So, what do we have to do to make more success?
Less than 5%.
Less than 5%? That's very good. Wish I had that in sales.
I mean, and we pride that's a great question, and we pride ourselves on that. I mean, my 20 years of experience has has kicked in. And so,
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry to keep asking questions, the things pop in my mind. Now, have you seen any kind of effect on housing neighbors of these facilities? Or has everybody been pretty receptive to, it's a great idea, let's just do the gatehouse?
so, again, great question. Gatehouse, because of where it's located, right, it's such an isolated area, right? You have train tracks on one side, and a hill going up to the hospital on the other side, right? And then across the road, you have a water pumping facility for Danville Borough. So we don't get much of neighbor interaction, so to speak. Our neighbors are the state hospital, so they only come down if they need to warn us that our water's gonna be shut down for a few hours if they're making a repair.
I just want to answer somebody, before I was at the borough, I worked for CMSU, which our office was housed on the state hospital grounds, so we were the closest that the gatehouse had to a neighbor. And I mean, it was very easy to forget they were there the vast majority of the time. So, again, we weren't residential, we were there doing, case management and in and out, but I can tell, I mean, again, 8.5 years I worked there, and other than when I had to, you take clients to use the services, it was very easy to forget that that was a homeless shelter right there.
Now, I could give you, thank you, Damon, and I can give you the other extreme. Another community strategies group property, which is called Bill's House, located on 4th and West in Bloomsburg. The gatehouse, myself, I go there on a weekly basis, and I provide case management services to the residents there. And so a lot of times I do have interactions with the neighbors of this project. And I can tell you, majority of the neighbors, this may not have been the case initially, but we've proved ourselves. All of the agencies who are and were involved in that project have proven ourselves, including our residents, have proven themselves that they are good neighbors, you know, and you know, for the most part, our neighbors are very supportive of the project, and they're happy to see us there. It's even beyond just being happy, they're happy to see us there, you know.
Yeah, well, no disrespect for our trailer courts, but there's not management down there. And I believe some of the issues of what happens down there, if you're familiar with our trailer court, is not, it's because there's lack of management, and I was just curious about the management of a facility where you will have homeless people that sometimes they need to be taught, ethics, manners.
We have, in my township in North Center, we have Brookside, right? Brookside Village, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's ran and managed very well, you know, and there's, other than the PFAS water issues that we're dealing with right now, you know, we haven't had any issues with the residents there or complaints from the neighbors. Very, very little, if any, you know, and it's for the most part. As far as the shelter goes, Rich mentioned earlier, you know, not everyone will be supportive of what we do and the people we serve, but that's not gonna stop us from doing the best we can, to not just serve our clients, but also our neighbors and this community. We will do everything in our power to ensure that the living experience here in Briar Creek Borough is at an optimum level for not just us and our project, but also for our neighbors. And that's our goal.
How many full-time employees will they have there?
We are working on those details. This will be a multi-agency collaboration. We all come with special skills, and we will bring that to this project. And in the very near future, we will determine exactly what that number is. I don't wanna be misquoted, but we will have adequate coverage to ensure safety, of
Your residents.
of our residents and the neighbors.
Now say one resident kind of get out of hand, who do we report that to?
Well, us agencies, you will have our contact information. But just like anything else, if there's an emergency, police departments are always willing to help, and,
If it's not police report, so say somebody's giving a neighbor a rough time because.
we will always be available to you, and if that comes across your desk, then please reach out to us, and we will address that immediately. And we have, we do that at Bill's house, we do that at Gatehouse, and I'm sure, Community Strategies Group has absolutely, taken care of that in the past with other properties.
Oh, yeah, I always like to, I don't want Carla,
Yeah.
to address that question, it's something I like to be as transparent as we can, about who we are. And it's not a matter of if the police are coming. They'll be there. There's no question, at some point in time, there will be an incident where the police are gonna show up at the homeless shelter or at one of the properties in the back. And we encourage neighbors, we encourage staff, hey, if it's a situation, then we call the police. But to the point of management, it doesn't end there. We deal with it. And if it means evicting someone, or whatever the case may be, filing charge, whatever it is, I don't know if we've ever really filed charges, but we've had plenty of evictions over the time with our 300 units that we manage. But it's probably a lot less than what you might see in properties that aren't managed, where it's just shuffled under the carpet. So we make a commitment, and maybe sometimes we may even overreact a little bit, because we make a commitment to the community, like Ronaldo said, that if there's an issue, we're not gonna walk away from it.
You will have our contact.
Oftentimes our hands are tied, sometimes there's a lot of tenant rights out there, and we find ourselves in difficult positions where we want to take action, but legally, we can't, and the magistrates, aren't gonna support it. So we're really diligent about understanding our lease. If we find something where we need to add more ammunition to our lease, we do lease addendums, and we're always constantly looking at how can we do the best to assure you guys that, maybe your initial feels aren't real warranted, that, it's all gonna work out.
Who provides legal team?
Pardon?
Who provides legal, like your
Legal, we have our
lawyer?
own solicitor,
Okay.
our own attorney, we all do,
We all do.
yeah.
And we have here, we have Carla, Executive Director of Agape. She is running an emergency weather shelter in Bloomsburg at her location at Agape. And we also have Mr. Frank Spade, who owns Spade LLC, and he ran a emergency weather shelter in Borough last winter. So Carla and then Frank, you guys can please share your experience as to, what the neighbors' reaction was.
Well, and I wasn't even gonna enter that, but I was actually, you guys can hear me? Good, you can hear me?
Half.
What
He
you
and
say?
I are the same.
Oh.
Sorry.
Sorry. All right, as I said a couple times, Carla Alexander from Agape. What I was actually gonna say, completely different, and I'll talk about Code Blue. One of the nice things with some of these changes we were looking at, and I realized you guys weren't really anticipating, is actually what happens in this room. Prime time, and you had mentioned about the trailer court. Prime time has been going on for years.
10 years.
Yep. So that's a program that falls under Agape. And we actually partner to make sure that happens. And what Agape has always done since the very beginning, 17 years ago, is try to find ways to fill in the gaps. So we're not going in creating new projects, we're not going and doing what everybody else is doing. And what's what's great about this project is it's a collaboration. That's something that we have done in the past, but not to this degree. We're actually going into this project with all the partners working together for the same goal, but everybody's bringing their strengths together to meet the end result. So that again, sitting in this building, it just brings to how many different uses this building has brought. And we have no idea how many other uses that classroom could bring, not just to the community, to the local organizations. It could bring unlimited things, and even the housing units, it could bring anything. I can remember several months ago, we had a call and we had 20 members of a local township that were gonna be homeless instantly in the middle of summer. And between the agencies, we had to work diligently because they literally showed up that day with code enforcement to say, get out. None of us knew this was coming. And it took every one of these members that are here and a couple more over 30 days, and we got them all rehoused across the entire county surplus. But that's what's been happening. So these things will happen, and that's why I know it's a successful thing. As far as Code Blue and neighbors and homelessness, oh, we have neighbors. And do they like what we do? Not always. But what it's about is building the relationships. Every one of those neighbors has my cell phone number. Every police department in Columbia County and Montour County has my cell phone number. And yes, I answer the phone most of the time. So believe me, if you guys ever have something that comes up, a question like Colonel said, we have our contact information. One of us will reach out and answer your question. And is there questions? Yeah, we are gonna have, not everybody is perfect, but not anybody in this world is perfect, whether they're homeless or not. Everybody has a story. Everybody's had their own walk to walk. These are people that may have lost a job, lost a family member. A lot of them, you would not think they're just down on their luck and just quit. We have a woman with a master's degree who had long COVID, left the area for a job, the job went away. She has nothing, no car, no nothing. She's working at Giant 8 hours a week, riding a scooter around town.
Wow.
This woman should be making 6 figures and she's living on a cot in our building. So this is not people with a brown paper bag pushing a cart around. These could be you any day. So this is the spectrum. Homelessness is not what it was 30, 40 years ago. Any questions?
Any questions back there?
I just have one more thing to add, and I think it's important. Beth Burke is here. Beth is Executive Director of Columbia County Housing and Redevelopment Authorities. And, you know, we're talking about getting these folks housed eventually. So Beth has been a long time case manager, support, and working in the human services arena, but now as the Executive Director, she's now on the tail end of this. She's involved all the way through, but critical on the tail end of this. As people come through this and need permanent housing, that's where Beth comes in. So this starts with someone coming off of the street, and then all of these team members have a different role to play. And so Beth is that person that comes in at the tail end to say, hey, here's that next step out of the transitional housing. We'll help you get on your feet on permanent housing, and ultimately, we hope you don't need us at all. So I don't know, Beth, if you...
You did a great job, thank you.
So I think it's important that you know that we're doing all this.
This isn't your first round.
No.
Any other questions for anybody? No?
Just one comment. Thank you for your openness.
You're welcome.
And your willingness to.
You didn't answer my question.
I'm sorry.
I forgot about that, about the schools.
Okay, yeah, what was it?
Do you guys look into the schools for teachers or counselors that see that a child may not be getting what they need because of parenting?
Sure, so just as Mark is the homeless liaison for Columbia County, school districts have, most of them have homeless liaisons within the school system, within the school district. And we are in constant contact with these liaisons.
Cause I worked in the school district for 22 years, so
Right.
I kinda seen this stuff go on in school, that's why I wanted to ask.
Absolutely, and we've, at the gatehouse, we've had 17, 18-year-olds whose parents even kicked them out, you know?
Right,
And, you know, we got those kids back on their feet, you know?
good. I forgot about that question until you said something. Okay, no more questions from the committee here, no discussions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to have another formal meeting of this with the prints and what overall we need.
So is it your intention to have plans for the next meeting? Will we
Yeah,
need to
so
have-
I just recently got the building footprint, so my plan is to, incorporate the new building, you know, change the parking lot layout a little bit, and then along with those changes, make the revisions that your engineer, recommended. We also just got county comments today, so I have those to look at as well. So my plan is to make a resubmission in a couple weeks here, get them back in, and then come to the February meeting and then go over outstanding comments at that point in
So
time.
you think you'd have all that ready by the third Wednesday of February?
The 18th?
When do you need them by?
I would say at least a week in advance.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, so
Our next
we'll
meeting-
have them in time for him to get comments. I'm sure there's still gonna be some outstanding items, but we can talk about them at the next meeting. I mean, because there's other permits, NPDS, things like that are still outstanding, so, yeah, but we'll be in a much better position to show you new plans, have a new engineer's review. Hopefully we've worked through some of those issues, and then we can talk about it in February.
Right. One more question for you, sir. Would you be interested in getting a hold of the owner of Giant that owns the plaza and talk to him about getting that access back there and help maintain the red light?
At this point,
Because I think that would help you guys in the long run for traffic wise. Because like fellow over here said, if somebody comes up and wants to turn left, you got people wanting to turn left to go into the sheets before you can turn there.
I guess I wouldn't wanna have to maintain, we already have access, I wouldn't wanna have to pay for a second access. I mean,
I just wanted to run that by you.
yeah, I mean, we're too late in the game to be able, if they were to, if you had a way to persuade them, the township or the borough, to say, hey, I don't even know at this stage of the game, it'll work, you know, in order for us to meet all of the submission and timelines.
Plus there's a new owner.
Oh, there is?
Yes.
Oh, it's not Vasco Properties anymore?
Yes, it is, it's still Baskin Properties.
I thought they were selling it.
I think they did.
Richard, the owner from New York, his dad wanted to sell it. I thought it was for sale.
Well, at this point, it really doesn't matter because they're gonna go with the plans they have.
Well,
I just thought I'd throw that out there to you. Just keep it in the back of your mind on an idea that you could do down the road. It's just, if you see it's gonna be a problem,
I
or
mean,
something maybe you could look at.
If we could get a commitment from them in a couple of days to say, yeah, we would do it, you know, but once we come back in with a redesign and a resubmission.
Right.
Yeah, it would change everything.
It would
really,
change.
as far as
Yeah.
stormwater, so, yeah, we would have to know like immediately if that would happen. And I don't know if that's realistic, I
doubt that.
I doubt it.
All right, take a motion to have another meeting on this with the plans and
I'll
layouts.
make a motion, we have another meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned.
You have a date?
Thank you, everyone.
Wednesday.
You make adjourn, there you go. Yeah, on the third.